Hi everyone, Bernard here. I hope you're all staying safe and well, and welcome to the Citizen channel and a preview show. And the last preview, well, league match anyway. I don't think the season's quite over yet, is it? But the last Premier League game of the very interesting 2021 football season, of course. So today we're going to have a look at Manchester City versus Everton, 23rd of May. 4 p.m. at the old Etihad Stadium. 10,000 lucky City fans are going to be there. Sadly, I'm not one of them, and I felt a bit of a prickle in my eye there when I said that. Sadly, I won't be one of them. Obviously, we've got the trophy presentation. We've got saying goodbye to Sergio as well. It's an absolute disaster, this, isn't it, for us guys who can't get there? But can I just ask the guys who are going, just give them a cheer for me, please, because I wouldn't stop singing during this game. I'll probably lose my voice 10 times over. So if you can all please just concentrate on the game, get behind the boys for me. That's all we can ever ask. I mean, I don't want anyone leaving early either. Please, let's hope no one leaves early for this one. You're so lucky to be there. Get there and support the boys and send them off to Portugal next week in good spirits, whatever happens on the pitch. Anyway, we'll have a look at that today. Our usual features, including a look at Everton, how they're doing. They're not doing too bad, I suppose. And of course, we'll have a look at sort of 11s for this game with one eye on a big game coming up next week, of course. This match is on Sky Sports, so I don't know where I'll be watching it. I would say it's going to be very, 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 very odd. I was going to go down actually and try and watch it in Mary D's. I think you could pay a £5 and get in there, but I couldn't quite face it, to be honest with you. I didn't. I'd rather be a few miles away than actually there near the stadium, etc. So I'll probably knock that on the head. I'll probably watch it at home and save all my energies for next week. But there you go. Please, if you're new to the channel, push that subscribe button, push the bell notifications. If you've got any City supporting friends, please point them in my direction. I'll try and inform and entertain with all these vlogs, City Pass, City Present, quizzes, book clubs, City Magazine vlogs, loads of different things. I try and cater for everyone in my little thing. So hope you enjoy. If not all of them, some of them anyway. And you will see some stuff on film and TV as well. I do little reviews on films and TV and information blogs as well. What's coming out on DVD, what's out at the cinema, stuff like that. So if that's of any interest to you or someone you might know is interested, please point them in my direction. But it's football today. So if you do follow me or friend me on Facebook and Twitter, if you're not already, if you do that, seek me out on the links. I do post loads of City stuff, of course, and football stuff in general on there. So I do check every 2 or 3 days and follow and friend everyone back who's made that effort. That's wonderful. All comments very welcome. And of course, if you've got time for a comment, please get me up. I'm trying to get to about 20 likes on these vlogs I do, so if you can give us a thumbs up, that'd be absolutely fantastic. Right, a brief look at the History Boys. As you know, I do a dedicated History Boys feature, about 15-20 minutes long, something like that, so please check that out. It'll be in the links anyway for the City versus Everton. Overall league meetings, 87 played. We've won 47. This is at home in the league at Hyde Road and, of course, Main Road and, of course, the Etihad. Played 87, won 47, drawn 21 and lost 19. So not too bad. Scored 149 goals. And we'll let 84 in. Our very first meeting was at Hyde Road in 1899, 1900. No, I wasn't quite there. December 23rd, so Christmas Eve, 1899. Sadly, it was a 2-1 loss, but Meredith got the City goal, and Great and a guy called Settle scored the goals for Everton. The attendance, if you look at the City books, it's about 20,000. I looked at an Everton site, it was showing 14,000. So I'll go with the 20,000 anyway. Biggest wins was in 1950. 57, 58. Again, I still wasn't around at that time. I was just a twinkle in my dad's eye, probably. December the 7th, 1957. A 6-2 win. Yeah, notable in the main for Ken Barnes' hat-trick that day of penalties. All penalties. 3 goals, 3 penalties. Not too bad. We could do with him now, couldn't we? McAdams got a couple and Hayes scored as well. And for Everton, Jimmy Harris and... Jimmy Harris scored both. And I believe they were 2-0 up. I have to confirm that. I couldn't find out, but it looks as though they may have been 2-0 up and we beat them 6-2. So we'll take that. Our biggest defeat, of course, is fairly new. I mean, if you look at my vlog on the History Boys, it was sort of quite a memorable one. I've got some very scrapbooks and newspaper cuttings from it. Of course, was 5-2 in 1992-93, so it's May the 8th, of course, the last game of the season. Curl penalty and David White scored for us, but Jackson, a couple from Beardsley and Preki scored for Everton, and he pretty much demolished Peter Reid's City that day, and that was obviously going to be Peter Reid's last full season in charge. He did obviously take charge the next season, but it didn't end too well. And attendance 25,180, quite down really. The only player to come out of the game with any sort of credit was Gary Flitcroft, of course, who would actually be City supporters player of the season that season as well. And City keeper Mr. Margotson, I think he was making his first full game of the season, was that bad he was pulled off at a hard time, but there you go. That shows how bad it was. I was there that day. It wasn't very good by any means. And it was also Ray Ranson's last game in a City shirt. He had actually obviously left City and come back, and this has been his second stay with City. He'd only been at City a few months old, but this was the last time he would pull on the famous sky blue for City anyway. So there you go. As I said, please check out my dedicated history show with that and much more information as well in that feature. How are they doing? Well, they sit 8th at the moment. The last 4 away games, 0-0 at Villa, 1-0 win at West Ham, a 1-0 win at Arsenal, and 0-0 at Brighton. And their last away defeat, I mean, this is quite impressive, but the 1st of November 2020 was the last time they got beat away from home. And actually, if you look at Everton's away form, they actually sit 4th. If you do that thing where you look at the Premier League table home and away, they actually sit 4th on their away form and 15th on the home form. So obviously that's why they're in 8th. So if you take the two averages, you probably get to around 8th or 9th, don't you? So that's how it works. But yeah, away from home, they played 18. Excuse me, won 11, drawn 4, and they've lost only 3. So quite impressive. They scored 23 and 15 against. So obviously not goal fest by any means, but obviously they've done very, very well. Ancelotti's probably almost a full squad. I think they've got a long-term injury with Gabamin. I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm not too sure how you pronounce that, but he's been out for a while. The season did promise a lot early on, didn't it? I think they actually lead the table at one stage. But obviously they played at Wolves at home and got a well-earned victory in front of some fans as well, which was fantastic. They sort of a lot of credit for the fans helping them to that victory against Wolves. A very rare home victory. They say they haven't won that many at home this season, so having the fans back certainly helped. I think Ancelotti will want to improve on this season. Obviously, there's still a chance of Europe, isn't there? There's actually a Europe conference coming in as well, but they've still got a chance of the Europa League, so I don't think he's going to show City any sort of all right, we'll get the guard of honour. But after that, I think they're going to have a real go at this. I think, and they're not going to. Hopefully, they're not as dirty as Brighton, as physical as Brighton were the other day. But so, fingers crossed. There's no real animosity between the two teams that I know of. So yeah, I think Ancelotti will be up for this. And as I say, as I talk about my little thoughts on the game in a moment, it's. Certainly they can think they can win this and then see what happens if the other teams win their games and then see what happens with Europe, of course. And all Ancelotti can do is get an Everton win, can't it, as far as he's concerned. So right there, yeah, my little thoughts on the game. Of course, we have a few question marks, don't we, over our players. I've not seen Pep's press conference. I'm recording this about half an hour before it's due to start. But of course, Cancelo's suspended, so he won't feature, of course. I'm not sure what happened to Walker. It will be a bit of a worry if he doesn't feature in this one, to be honest with you. I think he needs to run out before the Champions League final. Sergio Aguero, there's still a rumour he could be doing it. Obviously, Pep, you'll probably know as you're watching this what Pep said about that, but he wasn't involved against Newcastle or Brighton due to an unspecified issue, wasn't he? So Pep was hopeful for this clash. So, and obviously with it being, as I say, his last time at the Etihad, of course, we'd love him to play, wouldn't we? And certainly the guys who are lucky enough to be going there will want to see that. Gundogan looks okay. They're not doing any real scaremongering with that. We've got Raheem Sterling, who's not fully fit. Certainly wasn't fully fit for the Brighton game. We don't know what's particularly going on there. So a few little question marks. We've gone from having a full squad basically to little niggles now, haven't we, unfortunately? I mean, the worry for me is games where there's a trophy presented tend often not to end in victory for the team receiving the trophy. I've not got the stats, but I have that sort of impression from other years and other things happened. That obviously once you won that trophy, obviously City have built that trend, because obviously we've done very well the last few years when we've actually won a title before obviously the last game of the season, and Pep's kept them at it, and other managers have kept them at it, but. I do, despite this to be a bit of a struggle, even though we've got our fans back in, or 10,000 fans approximately anyway. I do expect this to be a bit of a struggle, to be honest with you. Again, based on what I saw at Brighton, I know it's a bit unusual to compare it to Brighton when we played with 10 men, but I just felt mentally there wasn't some players weren't quite switched on to it. I think Pep knows basically certainly 9 or 10 for next week. I think he's probably got his 11 in mind, but obviously we've got to get through this game first, haven't we? And he does want to see some of these players have run out as well. He's not going to keep them all on the bench. He does want a competitive game, and I think it will be a competitive game. I think Everton will make it a competitive game. I mean, I expect at least 5 or 6, perhaps more of the 11 for the Champions League to be starting this, and the others to be coming on as substitutes as and where available. Obviously, we've had problems over KDB, but he's got to get some minutes in this game. I think I've put him in the starting 11, but he could also come on as substitute. Because obviously him and Gundogan are certainly shoo-ins, aren't they, for starting the Champions League. I think we more or less know at least up to 10 players who are going to play in that Champions League. Fingers crossed against Everton, they don't come out of that they come out of that in good shape. I mean, once again, it will be interesting to see the team he's picked, but as I said, at some stage I expect at least 9 or 10 of the Champions League team to feature in this game, whether they come on as substitutes or they start the game. And as I said, but I think those guys know who they are as well, and I don't think they were quite turned on against Brighton, the ones who knew they were in this Champions League final. And obviously there's certain players who want to prove themselves, but I think most of the players know whatever they do, if they pull up trees in this one against Everton, they're still not going to get in the team. So I think psychologically it will have an effect, and I think it did have a little bit of effect against Brighton, although as I said, you can't really gauge it too much because you're playing against with 10 men sort of thing. But they're only human. This is the biggest game. Don't forget, this is the biggest game in club football as far as winning. All right, you have your Super Cups and all this rubbish, but at the end of the day, this is it. This, for a player, if you're a footballer, this is it. And you can't tell. They're only human. They're gonna hold back or have thoughts on it, aren't they? So again, I did sort of sense that in the Brighton game, as I said, even though it's hard to judge when obviously the circumstances around it. But yeah, so I think the only one, obviously, Torres, that's why Torres was so disappointed. He thought he might have had a couple of goals at proving it was worth a start. But again, I've put him in my team for this game. But I can't see Pep. I think Pep said he had 2 ideas in his mind for what team and tactics is going to play, and I think I did say at the time, I think, well, that's either with KDB or without KDB, but that was perhaps a bit negative in a way. But yeah, I certainly don't think Torres starting is going to be an option. But hey, you never know. I mean, he could score another hat-trick tomorrow and totally change Pep's mind, but there you go. So my 11, as I say, that if I get 7 or 8 of these, I'll be happy, because obviously I have no idea as far as fitness and what Pep's thinking particularly. But I'll go for Ederson. Almost the back 4 for the Champions League, but I put Laporte in there, and I certainly think I'm just going to give Diaz a rest. I think he needs a rest. I can't see him come on. He worked flipping hard against Brighton, as most of the defence did. But I'll put Walker in. As I said, I'm assuming he's fine. Stones, Laporte, Zinchenko. So as I said, that's basically my back 4. Apart swap Laporte for Diaz for the final. In midfield, I put Ferner, who I think's a shoe-in, Bernardo and KDB. So again, another 3 players that starting the game that I think will be starting the Champions League as well. But as I said, with KDB, he might be on the subs bench because of this little niggle, etc. And the same with Bernardo. He might give him a rest because I think he was pretty knackered the other night. But there you go. And up front, I've just gone for 3 players who I don't think will feature in the Champions League. But again, I put Sterling up front. But again, we don't know what reason is he's not been in the squad the last game. So I may be taking a punt with this one. But I've put Torres, Aguero and Sterling. Obviously, Torres playing more on the wing than a number 9, so he probably won't pull up trees doing that anyway. But I'm hoping Aguero will be okay to start. But as I said, he might come on as sub or whatever. And I certainly think he'll rest Diaz, Foden, Mahrez and Gundogan. I think it perhaps a bit too early to risk Gundogan. I think he'll need a little bit of a rest. I'm sure he knows what he's doing next week, so I'm not going to worry too much about that. So there you go. Let me know what you think. Let me know what your starting 11 is on that team. So it's very hard. It's hard. It's been hard most of the season to predict the 11 with how Pep's been playing it. But you start to get into a routine with him, didn't you? When he was swapping 7, 8, 9 players, and then all of a sudden you get to the stage where you're thinking, "Oh, is he going to do that now?" It's getting near crunch time. But there you go. Anyway, let me know what you think. Yep, today's match officials, or as I also call it, the clowns in charge, because I think this has just been an awful season for all refereeing and VAR, etc., etc. So today's clowns in charge, we've got Mr. Oliver, he'd probably turn up in his Liverpool shirt, his Lionel, Stuart Burt, Simon Bennett, fourth official Michael Salisbury, I don't know much about him. On VAR, we've got Darren England, and I think he made a bit of an error for us last time he was on VAR, if I remember rightly. Assistant VAR, we got Andy Halliday. So there's your clowns in charge anyway. And again, my score prediction, this is interesting. As I said, Everton don't score a lot. So this is I'm looking at it now and thinking, have I gone too bold here? But I'm going to go for 2-2 as a score prediction. I'm going to do a City win as well when I come to the odds in a minute. But yeah, I'll go for it. As I say, I just don't think... I'd love City to walk. I think Everton will really be up for this. I'm not 100% sure City will be up for it. They'll try. I'm not going to say they'll down tools, but I think because of the circumstance, it's going to be a funny game, like the Brighton game. I think if we kept 11 men on the pitch, I think we may have gone a couple of goals up and controlled it, but... As you say, I think a lot of minds are elsewhere, and I think that's only reasonable to expect that, to be honest with you. Even though Pep might say certain things, I think it's very hard not for players' minds to be elsewhere, especially when you sort of think you sort of more or less know the starting 11 anyway. So that's how you go. Right, the odds, please. I don't condone gambling. Only ever bet what you can afford. So I had a quick look today. Again, it's another funny one. We didn't last week. It wasn't too bad. I mean, usually we get a loss. We lose a bit of money, don't we? But I only literally 0.2 of a point loss because I did have the over 2.5 goals. I didn't expect Brighton to obviously contribute as many goals as he did, but yeah, so I managed to just sort of almost break even. So it wasn't too much of a disaster considering City didn't quite do the job. Match odds for this one, yeah, it's 2-5 on for City to win, so not the shortest odds. But I've gone a point on 18-5 the draw, so I've gone with my score there, the 2-2, and I've gone 18-5 over 3-1. I've got a point on that. If you fancied Everton to win, again, as I say, it would not surprise me one iota. It's 6-1 for Everton to win. If you fancy a bit of a draw and Everton, I know, if you want to earn some money, I mean, at the end of the day, that my mind's telling me that tomorrow that it could be a draw or an Everton win. But of course, I'm a City fan. Of course, I want us to win. But I say there's a lot of things happening that may affect it tomorrow. Both teams to score, yes, is 4-5. So I think that's worth a punt as well. So I've had a point on that for both teams to score. No is even. So if you fancy someone to keep a clean sheet, that's evens. That's not bad. And correct score, of course, for the 2-2 is 20-1. So there you go. I'll have a point. I'll have half a point on that. Just do that one. And of course, last season we beat them 2-1, didn't we? So I'll have half a point on that as well. So we'll go for a City win as well by 2-1. But that's 15-2. You fancy 1-0 for City, that's 15-2. So is 2-0, that's the same price. And if you fancy a good old-fashioned 3-1, which is a popular bet, isn't it? That's still 12-1, so that's not too bad. Half-time, full-time, you fancy City for half-time and full-time, it's 6-5. If you fancy a draw and City, it's 10-3. If you fancy a draw and a draw, that's 13-2. Again, it's not a price that will put you off. Anytime goal scorer, Bernardo is 5-2. Yeah, he's got to pop up. He's not scored for a while, has he? And if he plays, as I say, it's a big question mark whether he'll play or not, but I'm assuming he will. But also, Fernandinho's 10-1. So I think Werner will start. I think he might come off after 60 minutes or so, but I think Werner will start. And he's 10-1 anytime goal scorer. So hey, he's due to knock in one, isn't he? He's not. Can't remember the last time Werner scored. Probably a couple of weeks ago, and I forgot. But yeah, so that could be interesting. The corner market's quite interesting as well. The last 2 games we played against Everton, it's been dead on 10 corners in the game. So strangely enough, the under 10.5 corners is 5-6, and over 10.5 corners is 5-6. So I won't put you off either of those, to be honest with you. But I think the bookies are reflecting on the fact it's a bit of a coincidence there. And cards as well. The actual cards being shown is quite interesting. Oliver only averages 3/4 of a yellow a game for City. He doesn't actually punish us that much, but he does actually average 2 2/3, 2.66 with Everton. So he likes to book an Everton player, that's to be sure. And I don't expect it to be a particularly tame affair. As I said, I know City's minds might be elsewhere, but I think Everton players will be up for this. So as I said, not as physical perhaps as Brighton, but they certainly will be up for it. So if you add those 2 together, obviously you're getting over 3, aren't you? If you fancy over 2.5 cards, so there's 3 yellows or a red and a yellow, etc. in the game, that's 4-5. So I've got a little point on that as well, just for a bit of interest to say. I don't usually bet on cards in a game, but if you look at Oliver and his past record, I think that's probably worth a little go on that one. If you think it's going to be a nice clean game, no bookings, under 2.5 is 10-11, so that's not a bad price either. Goals in the match over 2.5 is 8-13. As I say, it could easily be a 0-0, 1-0, 1-1. To be honest with you, I'm taking a chance because say Everton are not prolific by any means, and there's nothing to say we will be tomorrow. Over 3.5 goals, you think it is going to be a bit of a goal fest? To say if it is going to be 2-2, like I think is 13-8, and under 3.5 goals is 1-2. So again, not overly, not such a bad price. There you go. But let me know if you're going to have a flutter and what you're having, what your price is, what your bets are for this anyway. So I'll be interested in that if you're going to have a little flutter tomorrow. But please, never gamble more than you can afford, and when the fun stops, stop. Yep, the We're Not Really Here show tomorrow is Cal is in charge again. Cal Spellman's in charge, and we got 3 guests tomorrow. It must be the last game of the season. They must want to see a trophy lift and Mr. AGUERO, mustn't they? So we got 3 guests tomorrow, 3 lucky guests: Jolien Lescott, Sean Goulter, and Paul Dickoff. As it starts an hour and 5 minutes before kick-off time, runs on to half time and after the match as well. I do dip in and out. It's okay. I find it a little bit bland, to be honest with you, but if you like the We're Not Really Here show, get along and watch Cal with his City mates. Well, there you go. Let me know your comments. As I say, I think tomorrow it will be a funny tomorrow, or sorry, Sunday as I'm recording this. It's 2 days away, but I think it will be an interesting game. But I do expect it's not a normal game from City. I say there's too much on the minds, I think, and as I say, I did spot that. Even though Pep, let's hope we don't go down to 10 men, because I think that if we go down to 10 men against Everton, we've not got a cat and hell's chance of winning it. But hopefully we'll keep everyone on the pitch. We won't get Mr. Oliver to send anyone off, but. Yeah, it'd be an interesting game. As I said, I will be disappointed if we, of course, lose it or anything like that. But as I said, when you get a trophy lift like this, it does not normally work out for the team that is lifting the trophy to win the games. But again, that's my memory. I might be totally wrong. I've no stats to back that up, but that's my thoughts anyway. But thanks for joining me. Let me know in the comments what you think about. And if you're going, good luck to you, and say give them a shout for me. That's all I can ask you to do. Anyway, thanks for joining me. Whatever you're going to do the rest of the day, have a great one. Look after yourselves, look after your friends, look after your families. More importantly, let's all look after each other. Till we meet here again on the Citizen channel, or perhaps have a flit across, have a look at my film and TV channel. All I ever ask you to do is stay safe, Blues. Come on, City. Thanks for watching.